Brittany Storiale is here today. Some of you know Brittany. They've been in the church for about 10 years or so, and watched her go through our high school program, and then she just recently graduated from college at FGCU and took a missions trip to Africa, of which our church was helped to raise money. Some of you helped to support her in sending that. Our missions team helped to support her in sending that. We thought you would be away a lot longer, but you've come back. And
sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, I know. And so what we want to do is just take a moment to give you a chance to hear what's going on. And there's a reason why we're doing this. When Paul and Barnabas were sent out on their first missionary journey from Antioch into Asia Minor, the elders laid hands on them and prayed and set them off on that journey. And we did the same thing for Brittany. We laid hands and we prayed that God would watch over her and use her in a great way. But when they came back from that missionary journey, they came back to Antioch, they came back to the church, and they gave a report of all that had happened. And that's why we're doing this. It's important for you to know firsthand that when you do give to the church and honoring God with our tithes and offerings, and they go not only to support the ministry we do here, but ministry abroad. And we want you to be informed about that. So when we send a missionary out and we have the opportunity for them to come and to share, we want to do that, to let you know that you are a part of building the kingdom of God bigger and broader than just what happens here in Lehigh Acres. And so that's why we're here. So I went and got my list because I didn't have it to begin with. Why don't you take a moment and just tell us a little bit about how all this got started?
So like you said, I just graduated university, and originally, like, the plan was, undergrad, gap year, grad school. That's not the plan anymore. But so I knew I wanted to do something meaningful and connected, and I felt, God kind of calling me to go overseas, and so I talked to your wife, Michelle, about it, and I was like, do you know of anything? Do you know of any programs, I could do in this gap year? And she's like, well, not off the top of my head, but if I hear something, I'll let you know. And then shortly after, Lori began coming to our church, and Lori works for New Mission Systems International, and so Lori met Michelle, and then Michelle introduced me to Lori, and God kind of took it from there, and she told me about the internship and 2 months overseas, and I was all for it.
And I said in the first hour, and I'll say here, it's not Michelle's fault, it's really Lori's fault. So we wanted to go, don't be afraid to let your children talk to my wife, because they might go, but if they talk to Lori, they might be going to Africa on a missions trip there. So we're glad you're here, Lori. We needed someone to throw under the bus there. Walk us through a little bit about the preparation that you did in getting ready to go for that. I know that when I was getting ready to go to India, I had to start thinking about lessons and thinking, and my prayer life got better, and just trying to get my mindset in what I was going to experience. What did you go through?
Yes, I didn't know how to prepare, so it was really awesome. And our New Mission Systems does a whole week of preparation to go, and we learn lessons about how to help without hurting, and the different kinds of poverty. So they might be material poor, but us in the States, we're God poor, or we're relationship poor. So those are ways we can connect, and we're not any better than they are because we have more things, and we don't want to increase that feeling in them of inferiority that we're better because we have more money, but we're both poor in some kind of way. So that was really awesome, and just praying a lot. We talked about going through spiritual warfare, like as you're on the mission field, like you're completely surrounded by a situation you're not used to, you're not comfortable in, and that's really easy for the devil to get in your head, and you don't belong here, you're not doing anything important, you're not anything. So we talked a lot about that, and just my like you said, my prayer life exploded, just because you really have to rely on God. You have nowhere else to turn. So just all of that.
You don't really realize how much you have to rely on God until you're there and you're like, I can't really speak the language, I don't really know, and you're just like...
Hopefully I don't do anything that gets me put in jail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have the same problem, don't we? A missionary friend of mine who was on the mission field for 20 years, and when I told him I was going to India, I was really nervous and scared, and he said, good. He's like, now you have to rely on God. I didn't really like that statement, but it did help me to realize that, it's sometimes God God stretches us and sends us on these situations so that we would not otherwise learn to really trust in Him.
Yeah.
In that. Take us a little bit through just the journey itself. Give us the who, what, when, where, why, where you went to, what you did, why you were there, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we went, our trip was kind of two parts. We went to Zambia and Malawi. We went to Zambia first, and it was...
And just tell them a little bit about where those countries are kind of in Africa generally.
So on the map there, it's like right where the cross is.
Okay.
It's like southwestern. So Mozambique is on the coast, and then Malawi's kind of a little bit more interior, and then Zambia is a little bit more interior than that.
Oh yeah, now I know exactly where it is. Okay,
yeah,
just right there?
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all see it? It's just like right there? Okay, all right.
It's in Africa.
Okay.
South Africa.
All right, South Africa
It's
area.
below the equator, so your seasons are flipped. So it was winter when we were there.
Okay, okay.
So so we went to Zambia first, and originally we had planned, or we were supposed to do 5 youth events, and we got there and they were all canceled. And that was kind of, I don't know, like, okay, now what do we do? There's no point in us being here. But God really used that time, like, to do other things, like not what we had planned to do, but what He had planned to do. So we spent time just with Lloyd Nambi's family, our host, and like he has 2 adopted sons, Boniface and Gift, and his granddaughter Ruth, and we just really got to know them and laugh with them and do dishes and sing hymns at the same time. I don't know, just fun little things that encourage them. And we did get to talk to some of the youths of a couple of churches, and just they just want to know like what America is like, and how school is different, or how our customs are different. So we got to do that, and we did some devotionals with them as well, and just got to pour into them. And our time, we cut it short. We went 2 weeks. It was supposed to be 4 and 4, but we went 2 weeks in Zambia because all of our events got canceled, and we left for Malawi, which is a very long bus ride. It's about like 10-hour bus ride to Malawi. And we finally got there. And
no Greyhound bus, no TV, seats rock back.
They have a really, blown speakers on the bus, but they turn the radio up all the way, and it's like, I don't know, I guess it's popular music in Zambia, but it was pretty bad. And our host who rode with us to Malawi, he finally got up and he's like, will you turn the music down? And he like told the bus driver. And we like, the aisle is packed full of things, they pack those buses, they make their money's worth out of, a bus ride.
Yeah.
But when we got to Malawi, we met our host, Rutherford and Sahai, while we were there. And the majority of our time there we spent at a girls' hostel. So the village where Rutherford is from originally is called Insaru. And like his family is kind of like part of the village leadership. So he has really close ties to that area. And he's a bishop of the Grace Fellowship Church there as well. And there is a really good school, a secondary school or a high school there. But the way the school system works is it's not free. And most of the schools are either boarding schools or day schools. And if it's a day school, you have to travel from your home to
a boring school, you said?
A boring school,
okay.
Yeah. Well, most schools are that way.
Because our students could relate, I'm sure.
So you have to travel, and some girls were traveling, and they were being, harassed by people who were taking advantage of the situation, and ultimately one girl was raped and killed. So Rutherford really saw the need to have a safe place for these girls to stay while they're going to school in the village. So they built that hostel, Elizabeth Hope House Hostel, and and so our time there we spent, just kind of doing life with them, like teach us how to wash clothes by hand, because I have no idea how to do that. Like teach us how to like wash they use dirt to wash their pots.
Oh.
And it works really well. It gets all the charcoal.
Well, I've always been told God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. Yeah. That's what I heard. So
I mean, we had a whole lot of learning. There's a huge learning curve, and then we just got to be part of their devotions, lead devotions, teach lessons, and talk to them one-on-one about how we could pray for them, because you talk to them and they've been through a lot of hardships. They're an orphan, or, I don't know if I'm going to have money to go to school next year, or I don't know if I'm going to have money for food tomorrow. And I don't have the solutions to those problems, but, God does. And so we sat and a lot of time we just prayed with them. And that's just another way like my prayer life took off, because you have no one to turn to except God. You're the only person you can rely on in this situation. And he just really hammered that on me this summer, like, I should be first. Even when you're home, you should ask me first, because who can do more than God? So yeah.
We talked about that a little bit in the office this week as we were kind of discussing things to share about how we are in prayer in American culture. We always kind of say, like, is there anything I can do for you? And we say, well, I guess just pray, as if it's the last thing. And, well, I've exhausted all my resources. But, the scripture tells us to pray continually and pray without ceasing. And prayer should be that thing that we go to first. And you really kind of learn that when there is nothing physically you can do and you can't make all these things go away. And it's like, I always have this weapon of prayer and this connection to my Heavenly Father, who can care for all the needs of all these individuals.
Yeah.
And sometimes through us, he uses those needs. But yeah, awesome. You talked about the girl that was assaulted and that. What was that? Is that something that is common in that area, or was that a unique incident, or do they kind of constantly live with that threat of, maybe sort of some physical violence that might happen?
In our time there, I'm not sure, ultimately, but it wasn't dangerous. So girls walked to the market every day. I think it was more of people taking advantage of the situation. Criminals who knew, these girls travel every day to this school, and they know that, and they took advantage of that. But while we were there, we would walk to the market, and of course, you get a little harassed because you're white, not in like a violent way, but because you're white, you're walking to the market.
You didn't blend in with the locals?
No.
I really thought,
I tried my best, I tried to speak Chichewa and things, but, they just yell, Azungu, 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 which means, white person, white, like, the little kids, like 2-3 years old, that's the only,
yeah.
That must be one of the only words they know, because that's all I heard was Azungu, Azungu, Azungu.
I asked her in the first service, I said, what about someone like me who's like really white? How do you...
Extra Azungu.
Yeah, extra Azungu. Yeah, they made notice of that when I was in India too. I was like, I didn't blend in there either. I need to go on a mission trip to like Norway, I think I would probably blend in there. You would too. So they recognized you. They're like, they seen you as a foreigner. And
it's hard not to stand out.
Yeah.
What was one of the things, our hosts had 2 kids, Rutherford and Sahai, were the bishop and his wife, and then they have Chikondi, who's 11, and then Chris, who's 21. And we were asking Chris, we're like, Chris, how do we blend in? He's like, you see the dirt over there? Go roll in it.
That's good advice, I guess.
That was the only way we were going to blend in.
Okay. We have some pictures here to share with you, and she's going to kind of walk you through some of the things that were going on in some of these photographs.
Yeah, so the last 12 days we were there, I think, another group of missionaries came from NMSI. There's about 15 of them, and they put on this big camp in Saru, the village we were at. And the theme of the camp was, where's the love? And so they learned about, different kinds of love and what that means and what that looks like. And there was about, if I'm recalling right, about 140 kids we had there, which was awesome because, the hall we were in, we were packed in there, and it was we couldn't have fit more kids in there if we wanted to. And so this is just a picture of the last day of camp. They're making a really giant heart because the theme was, where's the love? And it was a really awesome opportunity to kind of blend our different ways of worship because, it was kind of like the American theme because there was a bunch of Americans there, and we do games and things like that, which they really love, they really embrace. But then the worship, they had like an open call for worship, where choirs from different churches would get up and they'd have a song prepared, or they'd have a drama they'd do, or a piece of poetry they'd written, and they loved it. They were so good at it. They were just so passionate about it and so willing to get up and share their gift with us, which is really cool.
Awesome.
So this is in Zambia. So like I said, our youth events got canceled, and so a lot of our time we spent with them helping them process their corn. So they had grown corn, and everybody makes their staple food is called nsima, which is like a really thick mashed potatoes, I guess, and you and you eat with your hands, you ball it up and you dip it and stuff. But to make it, you grow the corn, you dry it out in the yard, and then you put it in these giant, I don't know, like 20-kilo bags, and then, which you can see in the like bottom left there, and then Ruth is holding the stick, and you beat the bag of corn until all the kernels fall off the cob, and you dump it out and pick out the cobs, and then they store it until they're ready, you know, to make the corn flour, and they take it to the mill. But yeah, so this is us probably sore from beating the bag of corn, picking out the cobs, and having a good time.
When my brothers were little, we'd turn out the lights and make clubs out of paper and hit each other with them. I said, this looks like what we used to do when we were little there, you know, just beat with a stick there. We called that fun too, so yeah. But we never got to eat afterwards. Okay. What's going on here?
So this is, I think we're probably just eating ground nuts here, but it's just a good example, like in the village, or if we're teaching a lesson, or if we're in front of anybody, we have to wear long skirts. It's a very modest culture. I mean, in the cities, like the capital city, Lilongwe, and Lusaka in Zambia, it's more Western, so people wear trousers. But anytime we were home or at church or really anywhere, we had to wear long skirts, and it's just us hanging out, eating ground nuts. You can go to the next. This is a cool story. So in Zambia, Lloyd and his family, there's the church, and then their house is directly behind the church, and then Pastor Chilenge and his wife are like right next door to us. And so we really got to know their family and talk, and they're lovely people. I love them a lot. And so this is Pastor Chilenge, his wife, and then his son Joseph, and they walk in one night, and it's probably our like first week and a half there, and they just brought a chicken into the living room, and I didn't know, maybe that's normal. I don't know. Maybe people have chickens in their living rooms in Zambia.
Well, here in Lehi, it's common now.
So it's like 20 minutes go by, nobody really mentions the chicken, and then Amai Busa walks up and she hands us the chicken. And we're like, thank you. I don't know what to do with it. But Lloyd explained, like, that's a really great honor for somebody in the village to present you with a chicken. It's like a welcoming thing. So, I mean, I felt good about it afterwards, but I didn't really know what to do while I was holding the chicken. And then they snapped this picture, and then it went away, and I never saw it again, and we had chicken for dinner the next night. And we named him Jerk. And that's
Jerk the chicken.
Jerk the chicken. He wasn't jerk flavored, but.
What was it, like KFC? Did they fry it up and stuff? Or?
They do, yep. They boil it and then fry it. And they do have KFC in Malawi, in the capital, and like the line on a Sunday night is crazy. They're like out in the street waiting to get themselves some KFC. They don't have McDonald's, they have KFC.
Oh, so. Well, KFC, that's God's food there, so, you know.
So this is the camp. The last 12 days we were there, we had the other team. And this is like the hall we were in, and you can see it's pretty packed. And this is just, they're dancing, they're having a good time. Yeah.
And you were going to demonstrate the dance because you told me it's unique?
No, I think in the next picture you see the girls on Saturday nights would do worship and devotion, and we would give a message, and they would sing songs. And one of the songs was Omimin Denda, Kumtumiki La Yesu, which means wherever you go, Lord, I'll follow. But they're like shaking their booty shaking, like it doesn't really match the words to the song, but they really wanted us to participate, so we would do our best, you know, not very good at that, but they would just lose it anytime we tried to dance with them, and they loved it, so it was just a good, I don't know, being silly moment, trying my best to have some rhythm and dance.
Like, this girl, she's got no rhythm.
No, it wasn't pretty. So this is a picture of a camp again. They had kind of three teams. They had the rec team, and then I was on the crafts team, so I don't really know what game they're playing here. And then they had like the lesson. So they tried to set it up like a camp in the States would be. And so it's just a good example. Like they love the games we played. Anything like we brought to them, they kind of embraced and didn't really know why we were doing it or what we were doing, but they really went for it. And it was just like a good reminder. The whole time I was there, like I was really, I don't know, surprised that we're so similar. Like our dreams are the same. Like the girls all want to be nurses so they can make money and help their family and have have their own family. And Lloyd's big thing is he wants to finish his house, so he has a house for his family. And so I was really surprised that, we're from complete opposite ends of the world, but our dreams were the same. We're very, very similar. And like, they loved playing the games. Like, it doesn't matter. A kid here and a kid there are very, very similar.
Yeah, we noticed that. That was one of the things that kind of came to me when I was in India, was seeing, sometimes we think, well, they're in this foreign culture and in this foreign land and they're backwards and all that. But I mean, they want to raise their kids. They want to care for their family. They want to, provide. They enjoy just being together and laughing and all that. And it was a great reminder that under the exterior of what we look like, on the inside, we're just children made in the image of God, and we desire a lot of the same things. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the only picture I have of our hosts in Malawi, so I'm sorry, it's kind of goofy. But so in the bottom left, there's Rutherford, who's the bishop of Grace Christian Fellowship, and then Sahai, his wife, who's also a pastor. And then, so they built the hostel in Saro, the village, but they're funded by a Rotary in the UK. So while we were there, these two UK ladies came, because they're like trustees of the Rotary or something, and they had to do a bunch of paperwork or something like that. But they were really fun. We really got to know them well. And then in the back next to me is their daughter Chikondi, who's 12. And it's just a picture of my Malawian family.
All right.
So this was a really awesome opportunity. Before we left, NMSI had a bunch of like pre-packed clothing that was really nice, and like knitted purses for the girls and headbands and things. And this is another like really cool God moment, because they had a variety of sizes, but for whatever reason we chose mostly small sizes. And so we get there, and Rutherford and Sahai do orphan care program on every Tuesday, and they get a meal, and then they get a lesson for the kids in the village who don't have parents. And then, so we had brought these things, and we were going to give them out. And it was really cool, like totally a God moment, because we'd only brought the small sizes, and it turns out that normally they only get the really large sizes for the older kids. And so the younger ones never get anything. And so they were so excited that, they had finally gotten something for them, it was just theirs. And the older kids got to, they held stuff up, and they would like point out, oh, this would really fit, this kid really well. And they were really helpful in like passing it out. And they were so excited because it was brand new, so they still had the tags on them. And everyone in the village, they get secondhand clothing because that's the way it comes in, and they go to the market and they pick it out. And nobody has brand new clothing. And so they were so excited they still had the tags on, and they couldn't wait to go show everybody, look at the tag on my clothes, it's brand new, they were so excited.
This came from TJ Maxx and it was on sale too,
Well, we'd always cut that off. We don't want anyone to know we got that stuff. Was it Minnie Pearl that had the tag on it, See, she was a trendsetter. She didn't even know that. Yeah. I think there's some more pictures of some of them having them.
So this is Delphina. She's one of the orphans who, she was always hanging around. She really, took an interest in us, and it was really cool. We couldn't speak the same language, but we just loved on her. If you go and
it's interesting. You said that you couldn't speak the same language, but you don't have to speak a language to demonstrate care and love. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm sure just like a smile says so much, and a hug and a touch, and when people are praying for you and you're praying for them, you don't necessarily know the words, but there's a bonding that can take place on that, and a communication. So
yeah. I didn't say this last time, but it was really cool. One of the things we got to do in the camp was like crafts, and I was on the crafts team. And one day we like painted the girls' nails, and I couldn't, I speak very little Chichewa, it was very bad, and so I didn't know what to say. And so they point their color, and then I'd paint their nails, and just just that tactile, like holding their hands and painting their nails, and that was the biggest relationship builder. I learned more names that way. I learned, they taught me words as I was doing it, and I taught them words, and that was just being willing to touch them and to be with them was bigger than knowing, how to say hello in Chichewa or something like that. It was really cool. If you go next one, this is the picture of all the girls who got clothes that day, and they're just, it doesn't really show because they don't smile in pictures, but they're so excited about, their new things and their headband, and they got little purses and things, and they loved it. So that would be a good opportunity if anybody wanted to do that. It put together little packs together, and NMSI is always, sending people, and you want to see, it go to somebody. You could potentially, do something like that and get a picture of the kids who got it.
Even the smallest of things makes a big deal to them, like a little car or a pen or something. We gave out pens that had, just said love on them or something, and then we had it printed in their language, and they were just ecstatic to get something small. Yeah.
Oh, so this is Saturday night worship. This is us trying to dance, which I'm glad it's not a video because it's bad. But
next time we really do want a video of you joining in the dance.
I doubt it. So this is just us having a good time. They love dancing, they love singing, and they loved it when we joined in.
They're super expressive in their worship, right? I mean, just like out of the box, and
it was kind of disorienting at first, because it's just not what I'm used to, but you really embrace it and get into it, and it's different from our kind of worship, but it's good still, and it's I don't know, it's beautiful to see all these kids, singing out or dancing or being very expressive.
It's a great reminder that, God is a God of diversity in all things, and even diversity in worship. I mean, there's not just, one style that happens to work for us in our culture, but they have a style that works, for them and their culture. And either way, it's still praising the Lord. It's just kind of exciting to see some of that and go, I could bring some of that excitement, back. And you could use a little structure, like starting on time, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's true. So, church starts when everybody shows up. There's no...
Yeah, we're getting ready to go to that model too, I mean, some of them already think that is the model, but...
So this is just another Saturday night, or maybe the same, and just sharing a message with them. I got to...
I want to say, you talk about sharing here, in our office, you talk about the importance of just sharing your testimony. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was a big thing that God really taught me this summer was testimony. And whenever we went to church, and I think I got a little taste of what it's like to be you. But whenever you go to church there's no just sitting and being in church, but you have to do something. And so whether we were preaching a message or doing a Sunday school lesson or something, or sharing our testimony, we had to do something. And so we shared a lot of testimony, and just being willing to be open and vulnerable and sharing the messy parts of your life are what makes the biggest impact and makes the biggest connection. Because we would spend time, asking the girls one-on-one, what hardships do you face? And I'm an orphan, or my father has HIV, or something like that. And my grandmother had just died earlier this year, and I was still kind of struggling with that. And in some small way, by being open and willing to share, I hurt too, and makes it more relatable, makes you more of a person than, a rich white person from America. Now you're human to them, and it allows you to share how God's moved through that as well. Just being willing to be honest about who you are is probably the biggest tool, ministry tool I had this summer.
Sharing and speaking out of your pain or your sorrow, that just resonates, because everybody goes through a pain or sorrow of some kind, and then they're like, oh yeah, they're not so different.
Yeah.
They're not so different.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. I think there's another photo there.
There might be one more. Yeah, so this is the last one. The two girls in the middle, the one in the white is Killiness, and then the one next to her is Monice, and then the girl on the far right is, I think she's Somo. But Killiness and Monice were two girls that we got to know really well because they spoke fairly good English. And just the first time we met Killiness, she came up to us and she goes, I'm a PK. And we're like, what? She's like, I'm a preacher's kid. I was like, oh, she was so excited to tell us that, so.
Even in Africa, there's a mark on them when they're a preacher's kid, oh man,
And
we're going to get to heaven, and Peter's going to be like, okay, those are the PKs, they're over here. All right, these are the good ones, they're over here.
We really got to know them, and really miss them now that we're home, but they shared their story with us, and we had to share our story with them, and Monice is part of the orphan care program. Her mother passed away, and I don't really know what happened to her father, and just her willingness to these two girls were the ones who really embraced us, and like, because you get there and everybody's kind of looking at you like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And like these Killing at Simonis were like excited to talk to us and really kind of broke down some barriers with the other girls. And yeah, so I mean, they're my favorites.
Well, there was a couple more questions that we had, but our time was getting away from us. But I do want you to share the story, just kind of the fun, I didn't think this was going to happen to me kind of story moment.
Yeah, so we went to Zambia first. So, I mean, we'd just gotten off the plane in Zambia, and our host picks us up, Lloyd picks us up, and he takes us to our house, and it's like 2 days worth of flying, so you're tired and you're pretty gross and you need a shower by that point. And so he takes us to his house, and he's like, okay, go shower. And so there's 2 rooms. There's like the toilet room, and then there's the shower room. And so I go into the toilet, and they have like old-fashioned door handles, so I had never seen one before, which sounds silly. But I get inside, and there's no door handle on the other side. But I still decide to push the door all the way closed.
This is a college graduate, by the way.
Yeah.
Just thought we'd say.
I just graduated. I push it all the way closed, and then I'm trying to get out, and I'm like, I try and stick my finger in the hole and maneuver it. And Amy, the girl I went with, we don't know each other very well at this point. We've only known each other a week, and she can hear me struggling with the door, and she goes, "Do you need to be let out?" I'm like, yeah. And it's like 20 minutes there. I've already messed up. I'm like, what am I doing? I shouldn't have come, And so then I go into the shower room, and they have running water occasionally, like it comes and goes, and but it's cold. All of it's cold. So what they do is they boil a bunch of water, and they give you a big bucket, and that's you bathe in that. And I got in there, and I'm like, how do I do this? Like, what am I doing here? I don't even know how to shower. Like, this is going to be a disaster. And that was like the biggest, culture shock moment was like, I don't know how to do anything. Like, Amy and I called ourselves the babies because they had to teach us wash dishes, how to bathe, like everything. Like, I didn't know how to do anything. So it was probably the biggest culture difference was learning how to shower in Zambia.
And I bet that night they went to bed and they said, yeah, we got another intern. She locked herself in the room. It's like, here's another batch.
Yeah.
Let's see if they push it all the way shut. Always something going on.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, why don't you guys go ahead and come on up here, and if you'll go and get her for me. Tell us just one thing. Here's your chance to kind of wrap things up. Say, what would you encourage or say to our congregation that you've learned and experienced in this mission trip?
Just if you've ever, thought about doing missions, I'd say do it. God's placed that desire in you for a reason, and it's life-changing. God changes you more than, you affect anybody else. You're not going to go and save hundreds of people, but he changes your life in such a way that it's awesome, and it's an experience everyone should have, to become fully reliant on him and get to see him move and work and answer prayers. And it was just, I don't know, the best thing I've done.